In the early years of the 20th century, the world stood at the edge of a new age. An age of steel, steam, pride, and unstoppable ambition. Nations raced for power across oceans, technology marched forward, and humanity looked at nature not with humility, but with confidence, even arrogance. The oceans, once feared, were now highways of empires. Ships grew bigger, stronger, faster, and more luxurious than anything ever seen before. And into this rising tide of progress came a dream so mighty, so dazzling, that the world stopped to stare. A dream forged in fire, steel, and human pride. A ship that would be called the greatest vessel ever built by man. A floating palace born not just to cross an ocean, but to redefine the very meaning of luxury, power, and engineering brilliance. Her name would echo through history, RMS Titanic. She did not begin as a tragedy. She began as triumph. At the Harland and Wolff shipyards in Belfast, tens of thousands of workers, shipwrights, riveters, steel cutters, carpenters, electricians, labored day and night, building something the world had never seen. A vessel so vast that entire neighborhoods seemed smaller in comparison. Her frame rose like a steel cathedral. Plates the size of walls were heated, hammered, and riveted together by men whose hands burned and bled. Each rivet driven into steel was a pulse of human determination. Smoke filled the air, hammers rang out like thunder, sparks flew like stars. The Titanic skeleton grew, deck by deck, plate by plate, beam by beam. At 882 feet long and more than 46,000 tons, she stretched longer than 3 football fields. Inside, she carried the dreams of progress. Electric elevators, grand staircases crowned with glass domes, gilded dining rooms, smoking lounges, Turkish baths, libraries, orchestras, and cabins lined in mahogany and velvet. The first-class passengers would dine like kings. Oysters, filet mignon, champagne, rich desserts shimmering like jewels on crystal plates. But Titanic was not only built for the rich. She also carried second-class teachers, doctors, merchants, proud families seeking a comfortable passage. And in the lower decks, third-class passengers, farmers, workers, immigrants, hopeful souls fleeing poverty for the promise of America. They came with simple bags, calloused hands, and hearts full of dreams. On May 31, 1911, tens of thousands gathered to watch Titanic slide into the water for the first time. She did not roar. She glided, regal, massive, unstoppable. Belfast cheered. The world marveled. The era worshipped progress, and Titanic was its shining cathedral. She was not just a ship. She was a message. We have conquered the seas. People whispered that she was unsinkable. Magazines printed it. Newspapers celebrated it. Even her builders, though more cautious, did not deny her reputation. She had watertight compartments, steel doors, advanced systems. She was, to many, invincible. Yet fate listens when man boasts too loudly. April 10, 1912, Southampton, England. The Titanic's maiden voyage. Steam curled into the sky. Coal dust filled the air as stokers shoveled black rock into roaring furnaces, feeding the engines like beasts chained in iron. Passengers arrived in waves. Wealth shimmered on the docks as first-class travelers stepped aboard. John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus, Lady Duff Gordon, millionaires and aristocrats dressed in tailored suits and glittering gowns. They carried trunks, servants, lapdogs, silver canes, and fragile pride. Second-class passengers walked with excited steps. Teachers, missionaries, engineers, writers, hopeful and proud. Third-class families trod the gangways with children in their arms and hearts filled with hope. Many could not believe they were stepping foot on a ship so beautiful. For them, Titanic was not luxury, it was salvation. The ship's horn bellowed, deep, powerful, shaking the harbor like a call from heaven or a warning from destiny. Titanic pulled away from the dock, and crowds cheered as she sailed. She glided to Cherbourg, France, then to Queenstown, Ireland. Each stop brought more passengers, more dreams, more stories about to collide with fate. As Titanic left Queenstown, Small boats filled with waving families followed her for miles until she disappeared into the horizon. A steel titan slicing across calm waters toward New York. Inside, life blossomed. In the grand dining saloon, violins sang and glasses clinked beneath glittering chandeliers. The first-class promenade glowed with laughter and silk. Men smoked cigars and discussed business. Women walked in gowns with jeweled collars and feathered hats. A floating palace, confident and proud. Second-class passengers enjoyed comfort far beyond what they had ever imagined at sea. Polished wood, warm rooms, fine meals. For many, this journey felt like a step into the future. Down in third class, the atmosphere was humble but joyful. Fiddles played, feet danced, laughter echoed, children chased each other through narrow corridors. Men spoke of new jobs. Women dreamed of new beginnings. Life felt wide open, fresh, possible, hopeful. On the bridge stood Captain Edward John Smith, calm, experienced, beloved. A man who had crossed oceans for 40 years. This voyage would be his retirement triumph. Some said he was too comfortable, too confident. Others believed he was exactly the man fate required. The sea was calm, the sky clear. The engines thundered like a heartbeat, pushing the Titanic forward at over 22 knots. Fast, almost as if racing destiny. But even paradise carries shadows. Wireless messages streamed in from other ships. Warnings of ice ahead. Massive bergs drifting south. Danger in the dark. Some warnings reached the bridge. Some didn't, lost beneath stacks of passenger telegrams. In those days, communication was luxury, not safety. The wireless operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride worked tirelessly sending personal message. Nature's quiet blade. She could float with 4 flooded compartments, but not 6. Her fate was sealed the moment steel met ice. Yet above, passengers barely felt a jolt. Some thought the ship had stopped to avoid ice. Some joked. Some returned to card games and brandy. Stewards knocked politely on doors. Please put on life belts and come to the boat deck. Many ignored the request. The unimaginable could not be real. The Titanic could not sink. Everyone believed that. But as minutes passed, truth revealed itself. The bow sank lower. The stern lifted. Crew tested lifeboats, cleared the decks. Orders rang out. Women and children first. Titanic carried 2,208 souls, but only 20 lifeboats. Not enough. Why? Because luxury and confidence had trumped safety. Lifeboats cluttered the view. Engineers believed she would never need them. Regulations were outdated. Pride blinded reason. The first lifeboats lowered half empty. People hesitated. Passengers refused to leave a warm, grand ship for small wooden boats in the freezing night. Some believed they were safer staying aboard. Officers tried to maintain calm, but urgency grew. Voices cracked. Panic spread silently like rising water. Husbands kissed wives goodbye, knowing they would never meet again. Mothers held their children tightly. Some men pleaded. Others stepped back, accepting fate with quiet dignity. Wealth meant nothing now. Titles vanished. Millions could not buy life. Death does not negotiate. The band assembled on deck, violins trembling in the cold, and played. Music for courage. Music for comfort. Music because fear must not win. People listened through tears as the ship slowly drowned beneath their feet. Some prayed. Some screamed. Some stared in stunned silence at the stars that watched without mercy. Wireless operators tapped distress signals. First CQD, then the new call, SOS. Ships heard them, Olympic, Baltic, Californian, but they were too far or too late. Only the Carpathia raced toward Titanic. 58 miles away, pushing her engines to the limit in freezing dark waters. But she would not arrive in time to save everyone. As lifeboats filled, reality hardened. Benjamin Guggenheim dressed in his best evening suit and stood calmly. We are dressed in our best and prepared to go down like gentlemen. Isidore and Ida Strauss, offered seats, refused to be separated. Ida chose death beside her husband over life alone. Officers fired warning shots to hold desperate crowds back. Fathers placed children into lifeboats knowing they would die. Mothers sobbed. Lovers clung together. Third-class passengers fought to reach the upper decks, but many were blocked by locked gates, trapped by class even in death. The bow plunged deeper. Water roared through corridors, swallowed cabins, flooded grand halls once filled with elegance and laughter. The grand staircase, that symbol of glory, now echoed with rushing water and desperate footsteps. In boiler rooms, stokers fought to keep lights burning so others could escape. Heroes in darkness. Firemen, engineers, crew, men who never became famous, died so others might live. At around 2 a.m., the ocean claimed the bow. The stern lifted into the sky. Metal groaned like a wounded giant. People clung to rails. Some jumped, screaming as they fell into black water cold enough to steal breath in seconds. The ship's lights flickered, glowed once more, then went black. Darkness swallowed the world. A moment of silence. Then the Titanic broke. Steel snapped. The stern crashed back, then rose again, almost vertical against the stars. Humanity held on to the very end, small, fragile figures on the back of a dying giant. Then, slowly, silently, the Titanic slid beneath the Atlantic waves. Pride, beauty, dreams, gone in minutes. Screams filled the frozen air, thousands crying out in darkness. One of the most haunting sounds in human history. Lifeboats floated nearby, many half-empty, unable to comprehend, afraid to return. The water kill. Fast. Breath froze. Lungs collapsed. Within minutes, voices faded. The ocean fell silent. More than 1,500 souls vanished beneath the waves that night. Fathers, sons, mothers, children. Rich, poor, famous, unknown. United in death, stripped of everything but humanity. The sea does not care for class. Hours later, the Carpathia arrived. Lifeboats were found. Shivering women, crying children, stunned survivors whispering prayers and names of those never to return. A world awoke in shock. Headlines screamed. Crowds wept. Investigation began. Questions thundered. Why so few lifeboats? Why such speed? Why ignored warnings? Why locked gates? And beneath every question lay one simple truth. Pride sank the Titanic. Human arrogance met nature and lost. The wreck slept in darkness for 73 years until Robert Ballard found her in 1985. Broken, rusted, silent, resting on the ocean floor like a ghost caught between time and memory. A steel giant humbled. A monument to dreams and mistakes. The grand staircase gone. Cabins collapsed. China still resting on the seabed. Shoes lying together where bodies once floated. Even in ruin, she commanded awe. The Titanic endures not because she sank, but because she reveals something eternal about us. Our ambition, our pride, our belief that we can conquer nature, our moments of cowardice, and our moments of unbelievable courage. The Titanic was more than a ship. She was a mirror. In her we see the best and worst of humanity. We see love, bravery, sacrifice, and duty. We see arrogance, denial, and tragedy. And above all, we see this: progress without humility is peril. No matter how great our inventions, we remain fragile before nature. The Titanic reminds us that dreams are powerful, but when pride blinds wisdom, even giants fall. More than a century has passed, yet her story survives in classrooms, museums, films, books, in whispered memories and silent questions. Every time we speak her name, we honor those who sailed, those who live, those who died, and the lesson the ocean carved into history. The Titanic did not simply sink. She descended into legend, into caution, into memory so deep that time cannot erase it. Tonight, when you think of her, imagine not just the wreck but the moment she sailed. Proud, shining, unstoppable, filled with laughter, hope, and life. Then imagine the stars above the Atlantic, the quiet before the collision, the last notes of the violins, the final heartbeat of engines, and the cold sea closing over dreams. The Titanic was not merely a tragedy. She was a warning, a myth, a memory, and a monument to the human spirit, both its brilliance and its flaws. A story of pride and sorrow, of luxury and loss, of love, courage, and fate. She sleeps beneath the waves, but she lives in history forever. A whisper in the deep that says, respect the sea, respect nature, respect life. The Titanic sailed once and never returned. But in the end, she reached a destination far beyond New York. She sailed into eternity,